Okay, it's time to kick off my declutter series for 2023. I have been wanting to declutter my complexion products, and now it is time because I've had the chance to really go through these over the last few months and just kind of rewear everything and see what I'm still enjoying, what I'm not reaching for. So now that I have a better idea of which foundations I truly love, I feel like I can declutter them a little bit better than if I was just kind of going through and I hadn't really thought about it. So I'm going to be focusing on foundations and concealers in today's video. There are definitely formulas in here that I don't reach for. I tried more foundations in the past year than I typically do in a year because my preferences have changed a little bit. I used to really only wear like full coverage matte foundations, and these days I usually like something that's more medium coverage or customizable, something that has like a hydrating feel. So I definitely have some great options I love and some that I don't use. And then my concealer collection has grown. I didn't realize I had so many, to be honest with you. Again, I think I might have tried more over the past year than I thought, but I like to take a look at my collection once a year and make sure I'm using everything. And if there are products that I no longer enjoy, I pass them along to friends and family. I do donate new products, but typically when it comes to used products, especially complexion products or eyeshadow palettes, I sanitize them the best way possible and then I pass them along to people I know. If something is really old or expired, then I will get rid of it. But for the most part, I usually have products in here that can be used by someone else. So I will be uploading a new declutter video maybe once every 2 weeks. I'm not going to declutter everything in one sitting. I want to do it as like the inspiration strikes, because if I'm in the mood to declutter a certain part of my collection, I feel like I do a better job than if I just sit down and force myself to do it. So anyway, let's jump into it and I'll start decluttering. Okay, so let's start with foundations first. This is one that I'm definitely keeping. It's from House Labs. It is the Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. I have the shade Light Cool, 145 Light Cool. This is slightly too dark for me. One product that I do need to buy is like a lighter mix-in medium. I know LA Girl makes them. I have the blue one, which kind of neutralizes very warm toned foundations, but I need one that lightens products just a little bit because that would be so helpful for me in my makeup collection. But I really like this product. I think it looks very skin-like. It's lightweight. I've enjoyed it a lot. I haven't had it quite as long as other foundations, but it is a really nice formula. So I'm going to hang on to this one. Another newer foundation to me is this one from KVD. It's the Good Apple Full Coverage Serum Foundation. So I am enjoying this one. I don't think it's going to be like my go-to formula because it is an intense full coverage foundation. The nice part about this one compared to older releases is this feels very light on the skin. In the past, other full coverage foundations I really enjoyed, like the Urban Decay All Nighter, that one was very thick, very heavy. So this one gives you coverage, but it feels super lightweight. I am going to keep this one. It's not something I'll reach for every single day by any means, but when I do want more of a full coverage base, this is perfect because it is very, very comfortable. But again, the coverage is intense, so keep that in mind. I have another full coverage foundation in here as well. This is the LA Girl Pro Matte High Definition Longwear Matte Foundation. I have the shade Bisque. I do like this product, but I feel like it is a little bit heavier than like the KVD foundation. And if I am wearing a full coverage matte foundation, that's probably what I'll reach for over this. This one feels a little bit thicker on the skin, maybe somewhat similar to like the Urban Decay All Nighter, which used to be my go-to, but I feel like that's just not the type of foundation I like to reach for every single day anymore. So I am going to declutter this one. I do have quite a few shades of this ColourPop Pretty Fresh foundation. Why do I have so many? There was a summer where I feel like I was self-tanning pretty regularly, and that must have been the summer where this was like my go-to foundation. I love this foundation. I've been wearing it a lot again recently because, like I said, I have been rotating through my collection, and it's been nice to rediscover it. It feels very light on the skin. It gives your skin such a beautiful, like natural glowy finish, but I do feel like it wears well even when my skin is a little bit more oily. But I do not need 4 shades of this. So the first one is Fair 25W. The next one is Light 45W. This one is Light 55N. And then this one is Light 70W. Okay, so I know for sure that I can get rid of 25. That is way too light for me. I feel like I just don't need that. I do feel like this one is a pretty good match, but it's just slightly too dark. So again, maybe if I get that foundation lightener, that will come in handy. I think mixing these two together might actually be like my perfect shade. So maybe I will hang on to those two, but I also feel like I could get rid of the shade 70. I don't really use self-tanner very often these days, and even if I do, I feel like that will just still be a little bit too dark for me. So I think I'll keep middle 2 shades and then declutter the other 2. But again, I love this foundation. I think it looks so pretty on the skin. This is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion. I love this formula. I would say it's slightly thicker than ColourPop's, but it's definitely more glowy and feels a little bit more hydrating on the skin. So I have Porcelain L1 and then Nude L3. Again, I feel like I mixed these to get my perfect shade match. I am okay with having 2 shades in some formulas. I just don't want to have multiple shades in all of them. But I feel like the one on the left is a little bit too light for me. The one on the right is definitely too dark and way too yellow toned. Again, I feel like mixed together, these are more ideal. I applied a little bit too much foundation. I definitely think this looks better if you really blend it into the skin. And I do tend to go in with a little bit more of the lighter shade than the darker shade, but mixed together, they're definitely more ideal. So I am going to keep both of these. Another one of my favorites, the LYS Triple Fix Serum Foundation. I have the shade LG6. I really do love this one. I feel like, again, this shade is maybe slightly dark for me, but it looks so beautiful on the skin. Very lightweight, super blendable, one of my favorites for sure. So I'm going to keep this one. Okay, this is not a foundation, but I use it to, or I mix it in with my foundations, which is why I have it in the foundation section. It's the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. I have the shade 1. 1 is best for me. It's not ideal on its own, this type of product for me, because I do deal with a lot of texture on my skin, but I love mixing this into more of a matte foundation, especially because it gives your skin such a gorgeous glow, and it just kind of helps to customize the foundation. You can go in with a little bit, you can add a little bit more depending on what you're going for, so that really is one of my favorites. These are from Catrice. These are the True Skin Hydrating Foundations. This is my favorite foundation. I wear it all the time. It's very easy to wear if you want something super lightweight because you can really buff it into the skin, you can build it up, and I just find that as I wear it throughout the day, it looks really good on my skin. It's not the most hydrating foundation I've ever tried. I definitely think it has more of like a satin finish. It looks really, really pretty. I've been using it for, I guess like, was it 2 years ago I first tried it or 3 years ago? I can't remember. Either way, ever since they launched this, it's been my favorite. So I typically wear the shade Neutral Sand, which is 030, which I just used up. I don't wear these shades. I had them in my collection for a little while because I was kind of testing them and mixing them. 018 Cool Rose is a little bit too dark for me, which is weird because it's a lower number than 030, but it ends up looking darker on my skin tone. And then 004 Neutral Porcelain is too light. So I'm going to pass these along because I love the actual formula so much. I keep telling like my mom about these and other people I know, so maybe they'll enjoy them too. This is the Makeup Revolution IRL filter. I really like this foundation. I know it didn't work for everyone. I feel like it got some bad reviews, but I think it looks really good on my skin. The description, like a breathable soft matte, is the perfect description for this because it definitely has a matte finish, but it's almost like a mix between a satin and a matte. Let me swatch it for you. Maybe that will give you a better idea. Again, it's just such a nice lightweight foundation. So here's what it looks like right when I swatch it. Like it doesn't look like a matte foundation, but it will dry down and dry to more of a matte finish. So I feel like because it starts off very light, very blendable, super almost hydrating, and then dries to a matte finish, it's very comfortable on the skin. Again, a little bit dark for me during the winter, but I think I first tried this during the summer. So again, it's almost dry. It looks more satin right now on camera. I guess it's not fully there, but once I set it with powder and everything, it definitely has like a true long-lasting matte finish. So this one is a keep for me as well. Okay, I recently rediscovered my Fenty foundations. These shades are at least a little bit closer than my ColourPop shades. I have 140, which was like my go-to shade for years. That was the only shade I wore. And then I got 145W and then 150. I've actually been wearing 150 the most recently. This one is definitely more of like a neutral undertone, and then these two are more yellow toned. So again, let me swatch these for you just for comparison. I don't know what happened, but the pump on 140 is broken. I actually couldn't get the product out at all. So on the left, I have 145, and then on the right, I have 150. 150 is like my perfect foundation match right now. It looks slightly light, but honestly, once I apply bronzer and I feel like this foundation dries down, it really matches my skin so well, which I feel like is part of the reason why this has been my go-to formula lately. 145 is way too yellow toned, and then 140 isn't quite as yellow toned, but it's definitely still yellowy and then a little bit too light for me. So I am going to declutter 140. For some reason, the pump doesn't work, 145, and keep 150. Anyway, I have really been enjoying this formula again lately. I feel like it's just so long lasting. It's definitely a little bit more intense than I typically go day to day, but sometimes you just want your makeup to last all day long, and when that's the case, that really is the perfect formula. This is the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. I have the shade 3W. I really like this. I mean, I wasn't going to buy it when it initially launched because I just didn't think it was ideal for my skin type, my preferences, but I do think it looks really pretty. I do typically prefer to mix this in with more of a matte foundation. On its own, it does look good, but it looks very glowy. And I feel like if I set it with powder, it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, it still looks glowy under the powder, but I think if you have dry skin or you love like a super glowy foundation, you'll probably enjoy this a little bit more. This actually balances out my more matte foundations perfectly. So if I was to use it, or I have been wearing it with the Fenty foundation, it's perfect. I also like mixing in a little bit into my Catrice foundation, which isn't quite as matte, but again, it just gives your skin like the prettiest luminous glow. It is a really nice foundation. I just don't think it's going to be for everyone. Anyway, I am going to keep that one too. Is that everything? Oh, this one is the Pure 4-in-1 Love Yourself. I actually haven't worn this one in a little while. It's in the shade LG3. This is one of my favorites as well, but I just realized as I was going through and like re-wearing all of my foundations, I did not get to this one. So I'm not going to declutter this one yet. I'm going to try it out and see how I feel about it and just see if it is a true staple of mine. Okay, I totally forgot. I have all of these foundations over here as well. So these are from ColourPop. ColourPop, when they sent out the Pretty Fresh foundation as PR, a long time ago, they sent these little like samples as well. So instead of sending the entire range, they sent a bunch of small sizes, which was really nice. So I do still have two of them. I have light 55N and then light 40N. I don't need these because I have the full-sized bottles, but they were nice to have on hand so I could decide if the shades would work for me. So I used to be the biggest fan of the IT Cosmetics CC Cream. That was my favorite product for a few years, like way back in the day when I first started filming YouTube videos. And then I felt like it wasn't really as ideal for my skin type. So this past year, I did try the Bye Bye foundation, the oil-free matte one, and then I also tried the CC Plus Nude Glow. I did buy this one. I think they sent me this one in PR though. I love the Bye Bye foundation. This looks so good on the skin. It's a little bit dark for me. Again, I don't know why all of my foundations are just a little bit dark. I feel like I tried a lot of them during the summer. I have the shade Light. I feel like the shade, I think they have a shade Fair Light would be more ideal, but I think during the summer this should be okay for me. It looks so pretty on the skin. It definitely has more of a matte finish, but because it is what they call like a full coverage moisturizer, it feels very hydrating on the skin. It doesn't have a foundation texture. I don't know, it blends in really nicely. It's like you mix your favorite foundation with your favorite moisturizer. So I love this product. Unfortunately, the CC Plus Nude Glow did not work for me. It's way too glowy for me. I feel like my mom would really like this product. If you like a super glowy product, I'll swatch it for you, then I think you'll enjoy this. It just does not last on my skin. And my skin hasn't really even been as oily as it has been in the past, but even still, my skin looks like a complete oily mess at the end of the day with this product. But I do like the texture of it because it is very lightweight. It's definitely lighter than this one. It has like almost a serum-like texture. Like look at that glow. It is so pretty. If you like a super dewy finish, I think you'll like this product. It's just not ideal for my skin type, so I'm going to declutter that one. Kind of similar, I have this product from Urban Decay. It is the Stay Naked Hydromaniac Tinted Glow Hydrator. On its own, it's not, I guess, ideal for my oily skin, but I love mixing this product in with more matte foundations. Sometimes it's just kind of nice to mix foundations and formulas, and I think that's kind of the case with makeup in general, but for me, I've always enjoyed mixing complexion products because some are a little bit too matte, some are too hydrating, some are glowy, some aren't. So I do love mixing a little bit of this in, and I feel like the packaging is perfect for that because you can get like a very precise amount of this product. It doesn't feel like you pump out too much, so I feel like this is just nice to have on hand for that reason. I'm going to keep the Tower 28 Sunny Days. This is a tinted sunscreen, so I do like using this on days where I want a little bit of coverage, but I don't want anything too over the top. I think I'm going to declutter this product. I used to really enjoy it, and it's not a bad product by any means. I mean, I think it's actually nice. I just don't find that I reach for it super often. It's the Essence Pretty Natural Hydrating Foundation. I think the reason I don't reach for this is because it's not quite as hydrating as like the Tower 28 or the Urban Decay, but it's also not super matte. So I feel like whenever I reach for it, I kind of want something that leans more one way or the other. And I think it is such a beautiful option for such a great price point. And again, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. It's just not one of my absolute staples at this point. So it tends to get overlooked, which is why I'm decluttering it. I do have two of the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundations. I think these are actually in the same shade, light beige. They recently redid it. I don't know exactly what all of the changes are. I know this one does have niacinamide in it. I haven't really worn them like side by side to see if they are a lot different, but I am going to declutter this one. It's pretty much gone, and I'm just going to keep the new one on hand. I just don't need both of them. I do have two shades of the NYX Bear With Me Blur. I just talked about this in a video I did on like the worst makeup I've tried recently. The thing about this product is when it looks good, it looks really good, but you have to prep your skin in the exact right way. And I'm not sure I know exactly what that is. If I do use a smoothing primer, it typically looks good on my skin, but sometimes it doesn't. If I have like a moisturizer or an SPF under that primer that this product doesn't like. It also doesn't always look great with the powders I pair with it. So it's so particular. Like it's a very finicky foundation. It is a very matte product. So I do think it would be really nice to have on hand for the summertime. So I think I am going to keep it for the summertime and see if it works for me more during the summer than it has over the past few months. It's just when I wear my makeup and complexion products, I want to be able to throw them on and go. I don't want to have to think too deeply about which primers to pair with it. If it's a very easy thought, like, oh, I like this matte foundation, but I like a glowy primer, then that's fine. But this one, like 90% of the time, it doesn't look great if I wear certain primers under it, and then 10% of the time, it looks really good. That's a terrible description. Honestly, it sounds like I should just declutter, but I want to wait until the middle of the summer because it is so lightweight and blurring and it has such a nice matte finish. Maybe during the summer, it will be a little bit more ideal, but I have a feeling, well, I don't know for sure. We'll see. I'll keep you posted in a few months. Okay, last thing for foundation, I have two of the e.l.f. Flawless Finish foundations. I have two shades. I have not worn this in a while, but I do like this. So let me swatch these. On the left, I have Vanilla, and then on the right, I have Shell. Shell is significantly too light. Vanilla is too dark though. Again, I need to get that foundation lightener. I do think this shade Shell might have expired. I mean, you can kind of see in the bottle it's separated. Usually if it's not expired, it's just a product that's prone to separation, you can mix it back up and it will be fine. I tried shaking this one and it's not really getting there. So I am going to declutter it. The label on the bottom is different. I think e.l.f. redid these a little while ago, and I'm pretty sure I picked up this darker shade about a year ago, and I've had Shell for a lot longer than that, so I think it's time to declutter that one anyway. Okay, let's move on to concealers. So I just tried to center these a little bit better. So the first one I am going to declutter is this one from Item Beauty. This is the Air Hug Concealer. I think I like everything I've tried from the brand except this product. I haven't tried everything, and honestly, I don't even know what's available anymore because I do know they left Sephora. So I think you can still buy the products on the Item Beauty website. The lip gloss is beautiful, the blush is so good, but this concealer doesn't look great on the skin. I also got the wrong shade. I got the shade 110, which I did buy based on swatches that I saw online, but it's just a little bit too light for my skin tone. It does have more of a satin finish, but it doesn't feel hydrating at all. And I feel like even if I'm not dealing with dryness in that area, this product makes it look like I am. So I am going to declutter this one. I'm also going to decluttered this one. This is from Makeup Revolution. There's nothing wrong with this one. I feel like the formula is very moussey, very pretty under the eyes, but again, it's too light for me. It's the Conceal and Define Infinite Longwear Concealer. I always buy the wrong product or the wrong color, the wrong shade in my Makeup Revolution products. I take way more time than I should looking up swatches and trying to decide which shade to get, but I always guess wrong with Makeup Revolution every single time. So honestly, I need to stick with purchasing their products in stores. I am going to keep the NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum. This is such a gorgeous texture. It looks very smooth under the eyes. It's very easy to blend out. I love this one. I'm also going to keep the Milani Conceal and Perfect. This one's in the shade 115 Light Nude. This is definitely more of a full coverage concealer. It's not my go-to formula these days, but when I do want more of like a full coverage flawless base, I do reach for this. I thought I had two shades of the Kosas concealer, but I guess I only have one. I might have already decluttered it because I had a shade that was significantly darker than this one. This one is 3.5. This one's a really good shade match for me. I think I had the shade 5, which was way too dark. I do like this concealer, but I wouldn't say it's quite as magical as people describe it to be. It's very hydrating, very, very pretty on the skin, and it does blend out so beautifully. Like a super small amount of this product goes such a long way. So I do like it as a spot concealer or under the eyes, but it might get a little bit more hype than I feel like it deserves. I mean, it's a concealer. I do feel like the Kosas concealer kind of replaced the ABH concealer for me, even though they're not the same. Like the ABH concealer has more of like, I want to say a little bit of a whipped texture. Yeah, you can kind of see on the wand, like it's a little bit thicker, which is why I was enjoying this one because I moved from using like a super full coverage matte concealer to using this because it's more satin, it has good coverage, it blends out easily, but it's a little bit thicker than Kosas. And these days I usually prefer something more hydrating and a little bit thinner. So I haven't reached for this formula in a while. I'm decluttering this, even if I was a fan of the brand, I just don't think that concealer is for me these days. Oh, this is actually like a foundation. I mean, it's a foundation concealer all in one. It's from Merit, and it is called the Minimalist Perfecting Complexion Stick, but I have the shade Bisque. So technically you could use this as a foundation or a concealer or both. I do tend to use this as like an all over foundation when I'm in a hurry and I want more of a light coverage natural makeup look, and I love it. It's gorgeous. So I am going to keep this product as well. Just move it to my foundation section. This is the LYS Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer. It's a very thin formula. I do love this on more natural makeup days. The only thing about this is I wish the wand was a little bit different. Like the applicator is very, very small. So I feel like I usually have to end up going in a few times. And when you go to put it back in the bottle, it's just like very flimsy and it just fits in there perfectly. So, I mean, it's a very small pet peeve, but that personally is something I wish was just a little bit different. I usually do like a larger doe foot, but I feel like it works with this formula because the formula is a little bit more natural. The Catrice True Skin is one of my all-time favorites, like top 3 for sure. It is so hydrating, so pretty on the skin. It's different than the foundation. If you tried the foundation and you didn't like that, I do still think there is a chance you could like the concealer because it is so hydrating, so comfortable, so blendable, so beautiful. Like it's a second skin type of feel, but it has a little bit more coverage. It's gorgeous. I do have a few concealers from e.l.f. Do I have 4? I guess I have 4. Again, I just have a couple of different shades. Oh no, these two are the same. This is the 16-hour camo concealer. This is the matte version, and I have the shade Light Sand. So let me just see which one looks older, and then I'll keep the one that's a little bit newer. This one looks like it's older. I don't know why I have the exact same shade. I must have purchased it thinking that I needed to repurchase it, but I do like this. It's a really nice full coverage matte concealer. It's pretty intense, so it's not something I reach for every single day, but again, I feel like it's nice to have on hand. So I'm going to keep one and declutter one. And then I do have 2 of the hydrating camo concealers. So I have Fair Warm, and then I also have Light Beige. Here's what they look like next to each other. Let me swatch these. On the left is Fair Warm, and then on the right is Light Beige. I'm going to keep Fair Warm. It's too light, but I'd rather that my concealer be a little bit too light than too dark. And I don't wear this enough that I feel like I need to keep both shades to mix them together. If anything, I end up mixing the hydrating version with the matte version the most. So I'll keep the lighter one and declutter the darker one. I did recently repurchase this one. It is the Say Hydro Beam Concealer. Again, I don't know where the other one went. Maybe I already decluttered it. I think I had HB3 because they did send this to me in PR when it first came out. I'm not on their PR list, but they did send me that one very, very randomly. And it was just a little bit too dark. So I think this is the one I just repurchased. I don't know why, I can't remember. I almost feel like I could have gone with HB1. HB2 is fine though. It is a lighter coverage concealer, so you blend it out. It looks very natural on the skin. It doesn't give you a ton of coverage, but it does give you a really pretty glow on the skin. So again, I think I must have just decluttered the darker shade when I repurchased this one. I feel like I'm missing a few of my complexion products and I don't know where they would be. I don't know because I feel like I'm missing a couple of random concealers because I do have 2 shades of this one as well. This is the Flawless Brightening Concealer from e.l.f. So I have Fair 15W and then I also have Light 25W. I know that I just featured these in like a TikTok recently, but I don't know why I only have 1 in here and not 2. So Fair 15W is a little bit lighter, Light 25W is a little bit warmer. I usually do mix them, but I feel like I could get away with one or the other, so I'm going to keep this. This is newer to me. It's the Urban Decay Quickie, or Stay Naked Quickie Concealer. They did send me 2 shades, 20NN and 30NN. I thought 20NN would actually be more ideal for me, but I do end up wearing 30NN more. So I feel like 20NN is just a little bit too light. So I think I'm going to pass that one along. It's pretty much brand new. I really only swatched it and wore this shade once, but I love this concealer. It looks so pretty on the skin. It really surprised me, and I don't know why, because Urban Decay does make really good base products. A lot of their base products have been favorites of mine at one time or another, or they still are, and this looks really pretty on the skin. Like, it has this really nice satin finish to it, but it stays in place very, very well. It blends out so beautifully. The only thing that I don't love is the brush on top. I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it like a quick and easy product to use, but the brush is very dense, so it doesn't feel good as you're blending the product out. So I personally just use a different brush, but it is a gorgeous formula. The Too Faced Born This Way has been a favorite of mine for years and years. It's beautiful, very lightweight, very pretty on the skin. I actually just wore that as foundation yesterday. I'll just take a little bit, blend it in. It looks really natural on the skin, very healthy. Like, it truly looks skin-like. Oh, I have another one of these Catrice concealers. This one's a little bit too dark for me. This one is in the shade Warm Macadamia. It's a little bit too yellow, a little bit too dark, so I'm actually going to pass this one along. This one is the KVD Good Apple. I love this one for spot concealing. It is the perfect texture. It is incredibly lightweight, but the coverage is amazing. So if I'm dealing with a breakout or a lot of redness, or I just have anything I really want to conceal, this product does the job. It is so perfect. So I'm going to keep this one. It's also nice under the eyes too, but I especially love it as a spot concealer. The Makeup Revolution IRL Filter Finish Concealer, again, so pretty. If you weren't a fan of the foundation, I still recommend checking this out, because I feel like a lot of people, I've watched reviews on this, and a lot of people who didn't like the foundation did like the concealer. It is, again, a soft matte finish. It's very pretty on the skin. It's not too intense, but it has pretty good coverage. It's more of like an everyday concealer for me when I want a matte finish. This JCat concealer is really pretty on the skin. It's a little bit of a thicker texture, so I don't usually apply my concealer with a damp sponge, but I will sometimes use that for this just to kind of sheer it out. But again, it stays in place very, very well. I do have pretty obvious wrinkles under my eyes, and obviously if you have wrinkles under your eyes, concealers are going to crease, but weirdly, like, this one does not crease. It pretty much sets itself, and I mean, you'll get a little bit of creasing, but not anywhere near the creasing I usually get with other formulas. So if that's what you're looking for, I think you'll like this formula. This is pretty old. I actually thought I had a few of these too, but this is the ColourPop No Filter concealer in the shade Light 18. It is time to declutter this one. I used to wear this concealer as foundation all the time, but I have not done that in at least over a year. So I'm going to get rid of that one. I don't usually wear it as concealer either. It's a little bit too matte for me when it comes to that. And then I just have the Rare Beauty Under Eye Brightener, which is not really a concealer. I usually have this in my everyday makeup drawer, but I feel like I wanted to throw it in here. It looks so pretty on the skin. It gives your skin, I just have to swatch it for you because it's so pretty. I mean, this is a very small amount of the product, so I don't know if you'll get the full effect, but it just makes your under eyes look so bright and awake, so glowy, really, really pretty. I was just counting them and I found the other ColourPop concealer. I'm going to declutter this one as well. I think they're pretty old. Again, the formula has separated a ton, and I feel like I can mix these and they're fine, but I know that I've had them for a very long time and I just haven't reached for them. So I started with 32 foundations and I kept 20. So all of these and then all of these right here, and then I'm decluttering 12 of them. I counted these as one. So I feel like that's pretty good for me. I wasn't necessarily going to declutter, or wasn't trying to declutter a certain number. That's close to 40%. And I feel like that inevitably is always where I end up. I usually end up decluttering like 40% of my makeup collection. But I'm happy with this because a lot of these are formulas I might like, but the shades might be a little bit off, so they're just kind of crowding my collection and I can pass them along to someone else. Or formulas that I think are nice, just not for me and my skin type, so someone else will be able to enjoy them. So I'm happy with the foundations I kept. I'm just kind of looking through and making sure. I do wish I had only like one shade of this, one shade of this, one shade of this, but sometimes it's just not how it works out. For concealers, I started out with 25. I kept 15, and then I am decluttering 10. So again, it's weird how it works out, but I'm getting rid of about, yeah, exactly 40%. Again, I feel good about this because looking through these, like, they aren't necessarily formulas I hate. The shades might just be a little bit off, or I don't reach for these because I have other products I like just a little bit better. So I'll give you a look at my complexion section before, and then here's what it looks like after. So definitely more manageable. I'll be able to close my drawer without it overflowing, and I think it's good. I don't necessarily plan on trying a ton of complexion products in 2023 because I feel pretty happy with the ones I have, and it's been nice to rediscover some older favorites these past few months. So I'm happy with my more condensed foundation and concealer section. I hope you enjoyed today's declutter video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. My next one will be setting sprays, primers, and powders. So I would love for you to subscribe if you're not already. And I do have a ton of declutter videos on my channel, so I'll link some on the screen for you right now. And I'll see you very soon with a new one. Bye.